Welcome to NDC Talks. My name is Marion Golda, and today we are having a conversation about engineers, leadership, and infrastructure financing. I know most of us get involved in design and the building of the projects that we see around the country. I don't know if we've ever asked ourselves how these infrastructure that we are involved in are, are being financed and what financing models actually exist in our country. And today I just have the right person for that, Engineer Latoya Ouna, recently appointed to the National Infrastructure Fund Board. Engineer Latoya, congratulations.
Thank
We are
you.
so excited as engineers. We literally feel represented.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I want to start like with your journey because we are engineers. Like, how did they start? Let's start from like how you got into engineering. Did you always want to do engineering? And also how you got into getting to the board. Like, sometimes engineers we get into engineering and then we focus on the technical aspect throughout our careers and we don't look at the wider pictures, like the things influencing the work that we do. So how did that happen for you?
Wow. Okay. First, thank you, Marion, for having me here. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to speak with you. I think, especially on a Saturday. But yeah, thank you so much for having me here. So my journey, did I always want to be an engineer? Imagine no. I had applied for medicine. In our time, you apply, you have A, B, C, D. It was medicine, it was biochemistry, something, I just wanted to be in the medical field. So when my results came, I had not achieved, I was 1 point less for medicine. And so I was really sad. I was really depressed for a while, yeah. For around like 2 months, I was just at home sulking and saying, I wish I could turn back the hands of time. Then do I repeat so that I can get medicine this time? There's so many thoughts that had come through my head. But so I sulked and sulked and sulked. Then my dad came to me and he was like, so I think we're done sulking now, aren't we? So let's keep it moving. So what do you want to do? I was like, I've never thought about it. It has always been medicine. So I don't know what you're talking about. So it's like, okay, fine. Since you've not thought about it, I've thought about it. You'll be an accountant. So like your sister. So you'll be an accountant and Strathmore is taking in students. So apply, then you start like, no, I cannot be. No way, no way, no way. Because I had dropped business education in Form 1. So I could not see how I was going back to no way, no way. So he said, okay, business edu, you don't want accounting. I'm giving you 1 week to choose. If not, I drop you to accounting. I throw you to accounting. Those days we had no choice. What your mom or what your parents say is what goes. So then I was reading the newspaper. Then I saw a big advert in the University of Nairobi, civil engineering, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, this looks interesting. To civil engineering, electrical, mechanical, like application. I was like, okay, this looks interesting. Not really interesting, but it looks as difficult as medicine, if that makes sense. So yeah, so let me apply. So I told my dad I'll take electrical engineering. He said, no. That one, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. Can't do electrical. He was an electrical engineer. I said, no. I know it's too much for you. Okay. Then I'll take mechanical. He said, nah, that one also is not. I would. So that's when I was like, there's one more remaining this civil. It was like, okay, let's try that one. So that's when I took civil engineering. Then first year I met with chemistry. I was so happy because at least it was something that bonded me to medicine. So I got that love of chemistry. Then first year, second year, I ended up with a theory of structures. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it
Yeah.
somehow. I was good at it, and
Mm.
I think the rest is history. That's how I ended
Yeah.
up in. And I just now I'm thinking
Okay.
I go to the hospital and I'm like, this would be me? No. Yeah. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
And
that's how I ended up.
what about now the board now, the NIF board?
The journey
Like
to the
how
board.
yeah, how did you position yourself to get to that space? Because I feel like you have to be so intentional. At like if it's like you almost kind of have to forecast where you want to be, even though some of these things are always very surprising. Yeah,
It
but
was,
let's hear
yeah, yeah.
how it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I can say I've been exposed to engineering from when I was young, but it's not really as the exposure that you would think, the ones that we see of you know how we see Chinese children are making robots, not that type of engineering. Well, as I said, my dad was an electrical engineer, but he diverted to be a railway engineer. So he was involved a lot in he was employed by Kenya Railways, so he was involved a lot and knew, you know, he would leave at night for train derailments and all that, and he would explain to us just generally what it means. And so we had discussions, just light discussions on infrastructure. And so I started my career as a structural engineer, which was I liked it. I liked structural engineering. But after three years, I noticed that I think I need a bigger challenge. So I applied for a bigger firm, and I got in. I was actually applied to like four big firms, and I got one of the four. So I was very excited, and I was there for 3 years, and it was really a challenge. It was a bigger challenge than what I had before. Then when I was there, I was say, okay, now we're here. I think um, I've been in engineering maybe like 6 years. It was 5 or 6 years. Now what next? So what next? What next look like? I was like, do I want to do a master's in structural engineering? I'm like, that math was not was not for me, as in that depth. No. So I scoured the internet, and I was looking at what people are doing, like forecasting. When you're right about forecasting, but the forecasting was it was not guesswork. It was more of looking at developed countries where they are in the engineering. So that's when I was seeing how do I look like maybe those international companies you go to, careers or what we do. And we saw, you know, you see something like a contracts manager, you're like, what contracts
Yeah.
engineer? And you
Yeah.
wonder, who is that? Okay,
Mm.
because all we had was Google then. Then you go to another company, you see, okay, there are three or four with contracts engineers. And in
Yeah.
at that time, you know, engineering was well, maybe like 5 years back, 5 years behind,
Mhm.
5 to 10 years
Yeah.
behind. So, you know, in the next 5 years, this is what we'll catch up on.
Yeah.
So I decided let me look for a course in construction. In now, you know, after looking, I saw okay, you can do construction law, you can be a member of this
Mhm.
Chartered Institute of Arbitration.
Yeah.
So that's the decision now. I decided to do construction law. So I was doing
Mm.
construction law to fund my master's. I left in my employment and was a contractor. Contractor just for
Yeah.
small houses, bungalows, small apartment blocks.
Mm.
And yeah, it funded it really well. And it was almost a real life experience of the day-to-day issues that I was going through were
Mm.
corresponding to that, what I was learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I graduated in 2019. In 2020, I got a job. I got a job.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first job as a contract manager. They put in all
Mm.
you have in school and thinking of what to do.
Mm.
And to that Tilisi. So
Mm. Oh,
yeah, that's what I
okay.
was now. I started practicing there. And it now got interesting. Now I was like, oh, so there's something called FIDIC. So now, what is FIDIC? Because people use the FIDIC books, FIDIC. So I went FIDIC, looked at this, so like, oh, it's a whole organization that wants, you know, then they said, call for membership. I was like, okay, interesting. So I put my for future leaders. I didn't know much about it. No, actually, I did because the FLAC future leaders of Africa had come to visit Kenya. All of them. It
Okay.
was so interesting. And I was unemployed, semi-employed then. And the chair then was like, okay, I don't have time. Can you take them around? Because they want to see things around and just talk to them. So from Zambia, South Africa, Congo, DR Congo, TZ, West Africa, there were many. So we went round, went to the UN, we went everywhere. They were telling me this FIDIC thing, this future leaders thing, this is how it is, this is what we do. I was like, oh wow, interesting, interesting, interesting. Then they're like, okay, vie for ISEC future leaders. Like, okay, yeah, it will be worth your while. It will be worth your while. So I vied. It was not as contested as it is these days. It was just basically it was almost like, is it X or Y? Then everyone says, let's take
And then
X,
they choose.
let's take Y. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I won. Then COVID hit and we had
Mm-hmm.
to think quickly. So a friend of mine was like, okay, let's do webinars because if we can't have meetings anymore. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about, yes, construction law. Let's do this. We did. So our webinars were really successful in 2020. And webinars after that in IEK, BK, IEK, ESEC, now they blew up and moved on. So that was fun. That was fun then because it was supposed to be ad hoc. It was me and her and maybe two others. What do we think we should talk about? So that got my face, you could say probably my face out there. And after FL, I was like, okay, I think there's now more because I had already been told about it. And that's when I now applied for the FIDIC um um FIDIC Advisory Council and I got in. I was like, wow. So um, from there, I said, what is this about? I think they had a conference. I asked for sponsors. I got sponsored. I was like, okay, I went for the conference. Whoa, that's what opened my eyes, actually. I'm like, people were having discussions 10 years behind, as in ahead of us. And the discussions were so the DFI CEOs were there, the big engineering firms, the ones I used to Google were there, and you meet them
Yeah.
and you're wow, it was just like awestruck. Oh, I was
Yeah.
starstruck. And that's when I saw now, I think that's when now that shaped my mind. I'm like, that is
Yeah.
actually where I want to be. Then I applied for other jobs. I got a job at the World Bank. I got a job at Nippon Koei. So it now working again with international firms now opened my mind even further. So how did I get to
Yeah.
the NIF? I got to the NIF because just before then I had just leapt to my next, which was project financing. So I was like a year or two, I had just switched like uh careers, not switch careers, but I was just exploring just for fun, just like I did with
Yeah.
the construction law.
Mm. Yeah.
So I'd done a feasibility study for a project and then they were left stuck. They were like, okay, thanks for the feasibility. We'll just keep it somewhere and wish us the best. Bye. I said, no, what if I could get funding for this? I'm like, can you? Yeah. Have Google, what do I need for them to get funding? Like, okay, you need a mandate. Oh, mandate. Okay, what is a mandate? So that's how I was landing on it. So they gave me the mandate. Now I started funding. It can't be hard. It's just asking for money. So I kind of got to learn from the ropes what it is, what they want to look at, the different development funds, what they look at, the risk, how to mitigate risk, all that mix of risk. Then I saw NIF. I was like, isn't this what I'm doing? Then then I applied.
Wow.
Yeah, then I saw I think I got it from the group. Hey, congratulations.
Yeah.
What? Congratulations. What are you talking about? Because I did not, I honestly, when I was applying, I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, in your mind, you should apply to win, but I did not
Yeah.
expect. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, congratulations. We wish you all the best in your interview. I was like, this is now serious. This is now serious. So I actually really studied for that interview.
mm,
Um, then it was a very intense, I think one of the most intense interviews I've been in my life. Then
mhm,
again, early morning, congratulations. What? Yeah, so yeah, that
mm.
has been the journey of how I got
Yeah.
to NIF. It looks almost like I knew that I would end up there, but it was just
Mhm.
circumstances that I was building on
Yeah. Yeah.
that got me there. Yeah,
Yeah. I
basically.
mean, congratulations again. That's like
Thank you.
impressive.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank
And it's
you.
because I think engineers, I think even in my experience trying to work with engineers or with engineering associations, you'd hear engineers wanting to get to such spaces or asking, why are we not in those spaces? Or why are we not in the spaces where, you know, we can't just stay in this other space where we are designing and we don't even know how we get here. Like, we
Yeah,
wait for the project to come, then we design
yeah,
them. But I mean, who decided that this project should be done? So it was so exciting for me because I was like, okay, this is exactly what engineers have been asking for, and it happened. So it's like
yeah,
you're representing us there. But also, you talked about construction law, project financing, and this conference that you attended that opened your eyes. And I was like, oh my God, like almost, I think a few engineers that have posted, like the turning moment, it was just getting exposed to something that was outside the environment. And then it
yeah,
just turned everything for them.
yeah. It
And that's how
just,
their life changed. They just
yeah,
wanted
you
different.
just
They
just
couldn't do
like
the same
new
things
and
anymore. Yeah, and it
yeah,
completely, completely changed everything. But then what I wanted to ask you was now project financing. Like when you said like you had just started looking into project financing. And then so you say like the way we go, we study engineering and then the first thing we want to do, we want to do design. Or we want to be in a site somewhere, or we want to be somewhere where they were doing implementation. So as we look at when you look at project financing, because it's like an area like as engineers we have to focus on it. Like we can't just stay huku kwa design and
yeah,
implementation. So how do
yeah,
you hold like yes we saw how you went into you did your master's in construction law, the conference and everything, but not specifically on project financing. Like is there like would you say upskilling areas, or would you say MSc, or would you say maybe like their specific job um, categories specifically for project financing, and like how somebody can actually prepare
yeah,
themselves for that, yeah, or just like uh how can I put it? Like you have to kind of like prepare yourself to get there, or like the steps that you
yeah,
have to
yeah,
take, like to kind of lead you to
yeah.
that direction. Yeah.
So, project financing, yeah, like I said, how I got to it was, you could say by chance, because not really by chance, but what you're saying about engineers and implementation.
Mm,
Once you implement a project, you leave the client, you forget about him, and you move on to the next. Because I mean, time is money, you know. But
mm,
it took me just maybe a few more months to wonder,
mm,
what exactly do you want as a client? What is your
mm,
problem? What
mm,
why are we here? Why are you doing this feasibility? Like what got you here to do this
mm,
feasibility? So they say, yeah,
mm,
we had funding. And we
mm,
thought, yeah, why not? And I said, okay, you could have funding, yes, but why didn't you do a market instead? Why did you decide
mm,
to do this? And they
mm,
said, okay, because this, they gave me the history of it. And I was like, wow, this is actually a very good project. And
mm,
I can empathize. I can empathize with what you're going through.
mm, mm,
Actually the project is not in Kenya. And I could it's in Africa, but I could empathize and see how they would get there and how they wanted to elevate the poverty in where they are and
mm,
insecurity. And so with that empathy is when I decided, let me get for you guys money. It's just like any other thing. If someone says, can you donate for me for this cause? Then they tell you the
mm,
story and you empathize and you're like, I'll take it upon
mm,
myself to get for myself,
mhm,
for you money for
mm,
this. So
mm.
that's how I got to basically the extra step that I'm not
Yeah.
just an implementer. The implementation part, I did it.
Yeah.
But how does this client get to
Yeah.
serve his
Yeah.
population the way he wants it to be put, the way he wants? So that's how that got me there. When I got there, yes, I felt it. I had my skills were a bit inadequate, I could say, and I was
Yeah.
exposed to. I did online courses
Yeah.
on financing from
Yeah.
the normal Udemy and all those courses that you can have in
Yeah.
the internet. And I was like, okay, now, but as I was working, I was doing the courses, so I kept on
Mm.
understanding more. And then at the same time, I was working with the World Bank, and I could see what they wanted to achieve, and I could see what their returns were from our reports.
Mm.
What do they want to see in our reports? This.
Mm.
Can I, just put in the whole spectrum of all
Mm.
my projects in one and
Mm.
saying, actually, this is the problem.
Mm.
So even as a contract manager, we come with a contract. We're in the downstream of downstream contract management is downstream of project implementation, but there's
Mm.
upstream. The upstream is project finance. There's feasibility, and there is
Mm.
procurement. So I got
Mm.
to procurement, and
Yeah.
at procurement,
Mm.
I felt like I was still getting half information. Like I'm
Yeah.
still procurement. There's so much. My hands are still. I feel like my hands are still tied. That
Mm.
if once this project goes downstream, it will still be not. The people downstream will still have an issue. That the engineers and the contract managers will still be struggling. So how can they
Yeah.
make this contract better? Then
Mm.
that's when now I was like, there must be something on top there. So that's when
Mm.
I was like, it's a project. Yeah. So now that's yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if I
Okay.
solve the financing bit, if I do my best in making sure that the financing and the structure of the financing is at the best I can, I can, is structured to its best of its ability. I
Mm-hmm.
know how it looks down there. I know how it
Yeah.
looks during implementation. I know the problems that we have during implementation, all the way from a GE, assistant structural engineer, to a contract
Yeah.
manager. I know all the issues that they're going through. And all of them normally come from because it's not from above, because there's nothing more they can do. So let me
Mm.
try to reduce their risks, to increase the success of the implementation, at least
Mm.
um, to reduce the hurdles and hassles that go through implementation. You've gone through implementation, you're like, who did this contract?
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay. Then the contract guy is like, the person in procurement gave us this contract. And
Mm.
we can't change anything because, the
Mm.
financing instrument
Mm.
says this. So, there's always that. Yeah. So the NIF, I think, has the opportunity to de-risk many of those things, being
Mm.
a local financing structure with
Mm.
local funding and
Mm.
local implementation. So
Mm.
some of those things, having seen the bottom, from the
Mm.
bottom to the top, I felt like I was in a good position to assist in making that
Mm.
change or
Yeah.
adjustment in how we do our projects.
Yeah, because actually that was going to be my next question. Because I was thinking, just hearing like how you've explained everything, it almost feel like that board is supposed to be full of engineers. You get because having an understanding of the implementation of the project and going to the contract, that is a space for engineers. But I
Yeah.
don't think like I don't know how many engineers actually thought that they could even like make that application or like that was a space that they're supposed to go to. I'm just thinking out loud, like how many engineers like actually thought like NIM, that's our space, like a bullet, as many engineers as possible, let's apply.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just
when we looked
wondering.
at the short list, I think we were
Yeah.
six,
Mm-hmm.
6 or 7. And the
Mm-hmm.
short list, the long, not even short list, long list, we were six
Mm-hmm.
or seven. Yeah, out of 78.
Mm-hmm.
So the chances of us getting that position was 6 out of 78.
Mm-hmm.
That was the chance of us getting. And if we had crowded it to be 50-50, if we had crowded
Yeah.
all our CVs there, and
Yeah.
the chances probably would have had 2 board members or even 3
Mm-hmm.
that were engineers.
Yeah,
But
I
counting
agree.
out of a pool of 6, the chances were were slimmer. Yeah, so you're
Do you
right.
know how many engineers
Um,
applied?
yeah, six,
Or was it
six,
six engineers?
six. Yeah, six out of the
Six
long
engineers
list of
applied.
70, 78, 76. Yeah.
Yeah,
Around
yeah,
six. Even if I would
yeah.
say maybe there's some who are not registered. Let's say 10, the ones who are not.
Mm.
Yeah,
Still
it
a
was
very
a
small
very
number.
small. Yeah,
Still a
yeah,
very small number. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
these
the
are,
chances
I
of us
mean,
being there.
yeah, we literally like reduce the chances of us getting up there. So I
Yeah,
think that's a space that as engineers we should actually look out, like be on the lookout for such things. And
yeah,
I think before we continue, you had already just started explaining how NIF could be like a solution to the challenges you saw during implementation. And like I wanted us to start where like you're explaining like what is this NIF fund? Because as you see like the number of engineers applying there, you can imagine the level of engineers who should be applying there. They're like mid to top upper part of their career. But then there are
yeah.
engineers who are hearing NIF, they don't even know what that is. They just probably know it's just something about infrastructure financing, but they're like, what is that? They don't even know. Like, what is NIF? Like, why was it created? What is it trying to solve? Like, and why should engineers even like care about things like this? Infrastructure financing, also, yeah.
So when the NIF came out, then the NIF Act, just before it was enacted, I think it was out for public participation in this early January, February, around there. And I got excited. I was like, we finally have our own DFI. Having worked for a few more, I'm like, yes, this is it. So I went quickly to the bill, that an NIF bill,
Engineer Natria,
and I read through
DFI.
it.
What's DFI?
Development development funding institutions. That is
Uh-huh.
the ones African Development Bank, World Bank,
Okay.
European Bank, those ones, the
Okay.
development banks. Those are the major ones. There's so many actually, but those are the major ones that you can relate to in infrastructure. So yeah, so when I read the bill, and the first thing I went to was like, okay, purpose of the fund, I think that looks okay. Then I went to the governing council, the board, and I was ready. I remember I was ready to, can we write a comments now, because this is our fund. Finally, we have, as at that time as a consultant, finally we have a fund that actually just will fund us personally. You don't have to get external funding with many of their caveats. Like, this is our personal fund. So yes, let's make it to what we want it to be. Well, I was time bad. I didn't even get my comments out of my computer. They're still here. But it's still I still feel it's still a great fund, because the purpose of the fund it has four purposes. So one is to scale up and accelerate the development of national infrastructure. So that means for the infrastructure that we're used to, now we want to scale it up. Think of bigger things, think of more infrastructure and bigger infrastructure. Yeah, the ones that you watch in mega, is it mega structures, those ones. The ones that you only hear of, Tanzania has done it, and else, why have they done it? So
Yeah. Mm.
scale up that. Then to
Mm.
mobilize private capital. So private capital and non-traditional sources of infrastructure financing. So which includes, so it was crowding capital in the funds that are already local. How do they get to get into infrastructure? In many countries, even if you look at China Exim, if you look at JICA, they they use national funds to to develop other countries for their own good. So they use their own pension funds, they use their own whatever savings as a country. Then they bring it to Kenya and say, okay, I think in the year, now that foresight, I think in the year 2060, we will need to be delivering, X tons of wheat, X tons of cars, what, and we need a bigger, they're thinking bigger for the country, but they're using the country's resources. When you go to China Exim, they're not going to develop a port in Kenya with American money. or with Indonesian money. They're going to use local money for development. So that's basically how you they're mobilizing and mobilizing private capital. So also to reduce the reliance of public debt for financing or commercially viable investments. So most of these big projects, have been coming from the sovereign debt. And that has been such a discussion and such an issue. If we were to stop funding, that would mean we'd have to use the infrastructure that we have and uh, and not think of bigger infrastructure. But also, in addition to that, would have to consider um, right now, infrastructure was fighting with essential services like hospitals and schools. Are you going to build a mega dam, or are you going to build hospitals? So all of them need to be done at the same time, but the money is less. Like even you need to shop, and you need to go to holiday, and you need to fuel your car, but you have finite resources. So how do you use the resources to the maximum? So that's the same thought. And also the last, my favorite, is to strengthen the national capacity for origination, structuring, and execution of large and complex infrastructure projects. Local as in to strengthen the national capacity. Again, I gave an example of China Exim. They have strengthened the national capacity such that they can even take the strong national capacity using their local funds to build a bridge in Kenya. Then you're like, oh, Chinese are taking our jobs. They strengthen their local capacity. So that's why they can even, it's so strong, they're in large numbers that now they can even export that expertise.
Yeah.
Similarly, we need to build our own, because the lack of exposure of those projects is what limits. Like, for example, um you would consider that I'm not going to I'm maybe a railway engineer, and the last railway that was built was 2018.
Yeah. Mm.
When am I going to practice as a railway engineer again? But in
Mm.
Spain, a railway engineer is busier than anyone else, or a
Mm.
dam engineer, or a bridge engineer. In the developed
Mm.
countries, they are as busy as you could think of. But here you're like, okay, I've done the biggest bridge that I've been able to do. How am I going to, what am I going to do with these skills? So we want to strengthen the national capacity and just use those funding and all that, so that we
Mm.
can, yeah, just basically strengthen what we have and just maximize and
Mm.
get out the best from
Mm.
from our engineers, from our economists, financiers, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, I think two questions come out of just what you said. First of all, you talk about like some comments that you wanted to submit about the National Infrastructure Fund that you didn't get to. And I think currently there's like an NIF investment policy that is out
yeah.
to the public to give comments. I think I saw it in some engineering groups. And I don't know if as engineers we normally take attention to such things. Like I was wondering like what drove you to do that? Like and do you think, I mean, why should engineers do that? I mean, be on the lookout for such things and actually give their input. Because there's this part where we are saying, yes, we are not being involved, but are we also, taking ourselves
Yeah.
out there? Yeah, putting
Yeah,
ourselves out there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why should
Yeah.
engineers, like when we see these comments, why should like almost every engineer actually submit like a comment on such policies? And for example,
Because
this one that is on 24th. Mm-hmm.
it directly affects your job,
Yeah,
your opportunities, your
yeah,
growth as an engineer. It directly affects you. How now look at as your how do you want your career to grow? It cannot grow if there's no project. If there are no projects, there are some who, yeah, they're maintenance engineers, there are smaller projects, there are bigger projects. But to say like a 15-year, maybe 10 to 15-year engineer, and now he's doing big dams, he's finished Moache, and he's done which are the big dams. What next for him? What next for you who has 5 years experience and you want to get to that type of experience? If we don't have those opportunities, what does it look for you? So that's what you look at in the bills, like how does it affect me? How does it affect my career? Don't wait for someone to see how it will affect you, because I don't know how it will affect you. I know it will affect me. You know, I'm the one who, at that time, I was doing it as a consultant. I know I get a lot of funding from, I say DFIs. A lot of projects come from FDB, from World Bank, and now here's another DFI asking you, how do you want to be funded? How do you want this fund to look like to do your job? So for me, it was a no-brainer. This is how I want, this is how I want it to look like. Yeah. And it's sad. I should have just submitted what I'm in hindsight, I should have submitted myself, but I was waiting again to crowd in comments and it took time. So time bad, but I should have actually submitted those 3 points that I had and taken them, because that's how I saw it would have affected me. But now, in a twist of fate, or God just said, hey, that passion that you have, yeah, just stick it out there. So in a twist of fate, I'm now in the thick of things. I'm now in the thick of that fund. And I still have the reasoning I had when I was um, submitting the comments. And even as a previous chair of future leaders, I've seen the struggle that we've had as younger engineers of getting opportunities. And then I got older and actually saw, okay, as much as we castigate the older engineers for not giving us opportunities, they are not there.
Mm-hmm.
So they are even up here, we are fighting, up we are fighting for the three. We find we get three of them because the rest China has gotten, Japan, India, everyone has gotten. So we get three. But down there we have 20,000. So three of us, what can we do with 20,000 graduate engineers? So you can see where the constriction happens in terms of opportunities. And I was
Yeah.
saying how the NIF third, the fourth main purpose that comes to me, that is like my main my drive is to strengthen the national capacity of origination, structure, and execution of large complex projects. Once we have that in our arsenal as a country, you know, engineering, it can still be alive. It actually will keep engineering alive, because if we cannot afford to bring in any capital, to any funding to the budget anymore, because we have
Yeah.
reached capacity, it means that there can't be any those projects that you're thinking of.
Mm.
So what happens to the engineers? What happens to them?
Yeah.
You have to go outside. You have to go. Can we ship all? It would be nice to ship them out, but can we ship all 20? I think EBK was saying every year they graduate 3,000. If I can remember, 3,000 engineers. 3,000 means you have to be shipping 3,000 every year, every year, and to leave the country without any engineers. Then what next? So yeah, that is. I hope I've answered and I've not
Yes, you
diverted.
have actually, and you
Yeah.
also went ahead and answered my second question because I wanted to ask you, with this model, are we going to see more opportunities created? But I would just like to pass a message to engineers who are actually live right now, and also those who will replay this conversation, to just be keen on these matters with infrastructure financing. As you said, it directly affects our careers. So
Yeah.
we can't
Yeah.
to other people to decide for us,
Yeah.
or to
Yeah.
actually
How will they know?
decide on our best interest. Yeah, and we're not
Yeah.
putting ourselves in those spaces. So I
Yeah.
think I've actually seen it being circulated. I've seen it in FL. I think like whoever is seeing it, wherever you're seeing it, please take some time and submit
Yeah.
the
Put your comments,
and
because they actually are read, they are read and want the best out of it, really. So yeah, just send it straight. If you're ready to, you can crowd your comments if you can, but if not, just open, it's public participation. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Also, another thing, if you have any questions for Engineer Latoya, just type them on the comment section. I'll be able to see it on my screen here, and then we'll be able to handle it. Because we're going to be taking questions in the last 10 minutes of this talk. So just put your questions on the comment section or on the chat if you're watching from LinkedIn or YouTube, and then we'll be able to ask Engineer Latoya. So another thing that I wanted to ask you, engineer, was the financing models that we had previously, because I really think engineers they don't have, like, okay, the bulk of engineers don't understand infrastructure financing. So like what models have we been having, and then now comparing it to NIF, and like what shifts should engineers be seeing like in the coming years with the success of NIF?
Okay. Our previous financing models have been XDFI gives the Kenyan government this money for a certain period of time to do the construction for this, and they get percentage concessions and interest, just like a bank, yeah, a normal bank. But apparently, the difference between them, a normal bank and a DFI, is that they have other goals that they want to achieve. For example, economic goals, alleviate poverty, increase transport, seamless transport. They normally have different, climate conditions, climate change, or they have different goals for pegged on their funding. So that is what has been happening. That the DFIs fund infrastructure directly through the budget, through the national treasury. Now, recently, we've been seeing another model, the PPP model, which is similarly like the NIF, trying to get away an alternative way, because we cannot depend on only one way of funding. And the government has been thinking that, why don't we leave the DFIs? We're not really kicking out the DFIs, but leave the DFIs to do core issues, like we are looking at hospitals, education, the
Mm,
softer issues that keep the
yeah.
economy running, than
Mm,
them doing the high infrastructure, because
mm,
that's high capital. Yeah, so that's what has been happening. Also, recently, if you look at a project like I'll look at Horn of
mm,
Africa Gateway, I think Gateway Horn of Africa, something like that. It's a road on the northeastern
yeah.
that has now what we call crowding capital. We have
Mm,
one fund that brings in the idea and says, I want to open the northeastern for this and this reason. These are the economic gains, these are the social gains, environmental gains, and
mm,
money gains. Money
mm,
gains, we're going to make a return of this.
mm,
Economic, these are the amount of people we are removing from poverty, whatever the
mm,
economic reasons were. So
mm,
you as a DFI, you come and say, I have 4 million shillings, I have $4 million, but this
yeah.
project is $7 million. Who's in? So another one will come, yeah, I think I have two. I can come in.
Mhm,
So they
mm,
come in and they say, I'll take, okay, this road is 500 or 700, 1,000 kilometers. Let's divide it into different lots so that
mhm,
you can take your chunk, and you can choose what you want. Some
mm,
even just take, as I'll just do road safety, I'll just do
mm,
climate, I'll
mm,
do the hardcore engineering for 10 kilometers, something like
mm,
that.
mm,
So that's how they crowded the capital for that gateway. Because I think there's the World Bank, there's FDB, there's in Islamic Development Bank. There are many banks that are carrying out that project, and Kenya
mm,
government too. So the Kenya government is the one that takes it's like pays the deposit. Like when you're funding something, you have to have skin in the game. You can't just let people fund. So what
yeah.
is your skin in the game? You're trying to make that project as less risky as possible. Risks
Yeah.
include um, political risks,
Mhm,
different, like land issues, uh, social risks, those things. So the government takes that upon themselves and says, look, I will do I will relocate these guys. That's my risk.
Mm,
I will relocate them. Then all of you will have a clear corridor to do the road. So that's how we look at the de-risking. But now that like this political risk, you have to take a guarantee for that risk.
mm,
So it's a bit complex. There are a lot of things that come in. So you take a guarantee for that risk, and um, such guarantee is almost like insurance that
mm,
if there's a political issue, this money that the FIX
mm,
gave out will not be wasted. So there are even
mm,
most DFIs have their own guaranteeing mechanisms, groups that they work with.
mm, mm,
That is that. Then I know PPP is now opening things and saying, okay, we can even get pension funds in this thing. Now we can look at NSSF, how NSSF has come into it. And this government gives, I know the government says, I will put this, I will give you the land, or I will give you, it has to give an assurance that this will be paid. So
mm,
those are the funding mechanisms that we have been
mm,
doing so
mm.
far. Now with the NIF, the government is continuing with its work. Yeah. But the
Yeah.
NIF,
Mm,
what it will do, it will guarantee now it's now taking the risk in equity, and it's also putting in
mm,
debt. Equity is in terms of ownership.
mm,
The government owns this NIF. The government via NIF owns this infrastructure. It's not owned
mm,
by, like I think it's share or something owned by the Chinese, and they'll bring it back to you after you've paid the loan, something like that. But it's now
mm,
owned. 30% is owned. And what NIF is doing is it's revolving that capital. So
mm,
we don't wish to come back to the exchequer and say, pesa
mm,
imeisha, unaweza
mm,
ongeza ka 10 million hapa, tuendelee. No.
mm,
What it means is we have this infrastructure, we have 30%, we have equity and debt. So
mm,
when you're doing debt, when we're getting, for example, toll, or we're getting um, payments from the infrastructure, service charges and
mm,
all that, we are
mm,
getting paid. So that one goes to the account, and we get to revolve it for another project. Or
mhm,
we can decide we have 30% of this, 30 or 40% of this, we're going to sell 10%. We can sell it
mm,
in capital markets, NSE,
mm,
then it will be a public, you Marion can buy
mm.
shares into the refinery. You understand? So
Mhm.
we are taking that initial risk, not Marion's
Yeah.
money. We're taking that initial
Mm,
risk. This thing is working. We've seen it has barrels of oil and all that. Now, Marion, we want
mm,
you in it, and we're listing
yeah.
this 30% of our share. So see, when we list it, we'll get money back
Yeah.
because we've sold our shares. So we'll get our money back. We'll put it in Bridge X, we'll put it in Dam Y, all that.
Mm,
Dam Y
mm,
will do the same thing, and airport will do the same thing, and what will do the energy will do the same thing. So we just keep on getting returns, funding it out again, returns, taking it. So that's how it's supposed to work, like a
mm.
revolving fund, revolving
Okay.
fund. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
So that's
Yeah.
the difference between that and the PPP. We're actually working on a fund that is self-reinforcing, like self-sufficient fund. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And before I ask one question from the audience, when you're talking about like actually what came to mind is the construction industry now in Kenya, especially the locally owned. Like you'd see a lot of projects stalling, 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 stalling. So are we going to be seeing less of that, less of NIF finance infrastructure actually going to completion?
Yeah. Why?
Mm,
Because it's the getting of the screening of NIF projects is very rigorous.
mm-hmm,
Well, the screening, it's even in the act. It's not even me who has said it has to be
mm,
rigorous. It's in the act. If
mm,
you look like at
mm,
30, clause 38, 32 or 38,
mm,
38,
mm,
sorry, you look at they have to do feasibility. We have to have climate resilient infrastructure. We have to do ASIA. It's
mm,
not me. It's in the act that we have to have very robust structure. That's just at feasibility. And even when you come to someone else, when you're crowding capital, everyone asks you, hey, this project of yours, can it, how study, how good is it? You have to
Yeah.
give them receipts that this is how my project is. I've done this, a technical take, financial take, it's healthy. You will get your 7%, because I think, IPS, we giving a minimum of returns of 7%, average return of 7%. So this is how we'll get your money. This is IRR. This is your ERR, IRR, investment, return of investment. This is how your return of investment will look like. So we have to make sure that when someone is looking to fund this from from fund managers to all that, El Nino is coming. Can your structure withstand that? So our feasibility is more rigorous, and that's what we're going to ensure, that as we crowd in the capital, we have something to show that this is the technical and the financial robustness of our projects. So we cannot, as I said, it's a revolving fund. If this thing is not going to work, you're not going to get the 7%. So that means you'll have to go to exchequer, and that's not part. It's even in the fund that you're working with it. Yeah, with
Yeah.
what you have is what you're working with it. So that's why we
Yeah.
have to be very rigorous in ensuring that all our projects, and so because we need those returns to fund the other projects, and yeah.
Okay. Good news. That's a great,
Yeah.
great news. Now to the question from Mazera. How can young Kenyan engineers partner with NIF to deploy innovations such as real-time social monitoring while advancing local content, creating high-value jobs, and improving QC and QA?
Young engineers will, not how can they actually will be deploying the innovations to our projects. Like I said, one of our mandates is to ensure that we originate and we have robust infrastructure. So we are just at the nascent stages. We have just formed the NIF. Look out for vacancies that are coming up, because the bigger projects are now also coming up. We have the refinery coming up. We have the airports. We have ports, and it's not a matter of a few months. It's a few weeks that these opportunities are going to come, and we'll have a whole. Dr. Ndi was talking yesterday that for example, the refinery is hoping to employ 60,000 Kenyans. 60,000. You can get how many engineers? Because that's a fully engineering a project. So opportunities, that's the plan, is to make sure that we all have opportunities in those infrastructure, and them being mega opportunities and mega projects, they pull in capacity, larger capacity than the smaller projects. Not that we want to leave the smaller projects starved, but we're thinking of how can we achieve this capacity building at a faster rate, at a larger scale. So that is part of, that's how the opportunities are going to come. They will be there. You will see them. It's not, we are at the board members are very young. So we're very open, and we know that these inventions exist, and that's why we even invented a way of crowding the capital and doing something that's different from other DFIs and other methods of funding that we have been doing. So yeah, opportunities will be there, but we are ramping up slowly here, now that we have our feet on the ground.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. And another question from Eric Mureka on resource mobilization for the fund. The government has listed state corporations on the NSE to get capital for this fund. How sustainable is this? Are there other approaches to get capital?
Yes, so our initial capital has come from Kenya Pipeline, 65% stake in the government, and also Safaricom, the government stake of government enterprises. So that is it. That is our initial capital. You're asking how sustainable it is. That is not our only source of capital. As I said, our plan is to revolve the capital that we already have. There's something called treasury management. That is, the money doesn't stay idle in the account, in the account, NIF account. We make sure that it's always earning money, so that we are not, like I said, we're not going to come, we don't wish to come back to Exchequer and say pesa has run out. I was given an example of the Bible, the story of the talents. The one was given 3, when the master came back, he had 6. Another one was given 2, the master came back, he had 4. Another one was given 1. Was it 1? The master came back, he had 1. As in, then he said, you know how the story goes. So our plan is to be the guy with the talents of 3. And the master says, very, very proud of you, very proud of you, well done, and give and receive more. So we hope that we the capital that we've already, the initial capital that we've gotten, we are going to prudently we're going to really prudently use it, and do very and carry out very innovative solutions on how to increase the capital without and make it sustainable. Yeah, I hope I've answered that question.
Okay. If you have any more questions, Eric, just let me know on the chat, or if you answered. Then another question from George Agutu. What happens when a project funded by the NIF underperforms financially? Who ultimately bears the risk? The private investor, the fund, or the Kenyan taxpayer?
Okay, so the NIF, we crowd in capital from different DFIs, they're not even DFIs, pension funds, fund managers, Marion, anybody. You all come in and we crowd in the fund. This, I'll give an example of me and my friends have decided to bought land in Isinya and are building a hotel. Who bears the risk? All of us bears the risk. But I'm the one, for example, now NIF is the one that we put in our risk. For example, we will do the feasibility and ensure that that hotel will work. Before I call in my friends to bring in their money, we are going to ensure that is working. So when I come to a chama, I'll say, this chama, look, I think this hotel will make this money. And everyone will get the documents that I've given them. They will go through and say, okay, I think it will make money. It will actually make money. And that's when they will come in. Don't think they just come in because they want to. It looks very nice. I'm telling you, it's so rigorous. For them coming in, it's papers upon papers. They have conditions precedents that you have to fulfill before any money is crowded, and they have to be double sure. And that is 1. And they're planning to crowd in 4. So out of the 4 or 5, NIF has done the best that it could. Another one comes and says, you guys have not looked at this. We'll have to look at it before it comes in. We look at it, they say, okay, we're okay with it. They come in. Someone else come and say, okay, all 3 of you did not look at this. We look at it, then I'm like, okay, I think you've looked at everything. We're comfortable. Because all that also includes insurance. When you're saying who bears the risk, we have to cost risk too. When you say risk, it's not a total loss. When you're doing projects, everything is risky in this world, but we don't look at total losses. We guarantee that risks. So we look at guarantees, we look at insurances and all that. And those are the ones that protect the capital and protect the infrastructure to ensure that it performs how it is and gives us the returns that it does. So yeah. The risks are protected. We protect the risk. We have through, like I've said, who bears the risk? The private investor, the fund, or the taxpayer, and the Kenyan taxpayer. It is not a Kenyan taxpayer. We don't get it from the sovereign, from the sovereign. We're not getting money from treasury. We have capital that we are using to fund the projects. So the Kenyan taxpayer does not. Of course, he loses because of opportunity. He doesn't get to build. He doesn't get to enjoy the dam or the road or the, you know, That's where the Kenyan taxpayer would lose or doesn't get the job of being an engineer or stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking out loud, engineer, that there will be less misuse of funds for different infrastructure now that you have different people actually with and the rigorous uh, evaluation of the projects and feasibility.
Yeah,
Like we're going to be seeing projects finances actually used the way they're supposed to be used. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a plan because we are all in it. You see, before the other funds could give the government and say, please use it properly as best as you can and all that, and the loan would still be paid. Now we are
yep,
in this thing together. We
yeah,
have to have that money back. It's not only the loan that has to be repaid.
mm,
It's not only the loan that has to be repaid. We
yeah,
have to get returns. This thing has to make money. So we've built that hotel as this trauma. We can be like,
yeah,
ah, wow, nice hotel.
mm,
Let's leave it how. No, we'll be marketing it. You'll be telling your friends. We will all be
mm,
going there. If anyone wants a hotel, they end up going to that hotel. With that type
yeah,
of ownership is what we'll be
yeah,
having. That's different.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. I mean, lovely. Thank you so much, Nelatia, for making the time. Our time is up. But before we go, I'd like you to tell an engineer watching this or the one who will replay, just leave them with like a parting shot, like what's their role in like the greater infrastructure development in our country and why they should actually pay attention to that as well, even as they execute projects. Engineer, I lost you.
Self, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Yeah, yeah. You
Okay.
able to get my question?
Yes, I got it clearly.
Ah,
Yeah. So
perfect, perfect. Okay.
the role is on yourself, first of all.
Mhm,
Where do you want to be? Like, take responsibility of your career, take responsibility of maybe in the projects that you do, take responsibility to grow yourself, to learn more. Don't stay stagnant because the world is not stagnating. For example, we had this type of funding now. Now we are in 2026 and we're thinking of, something else. So
mm,
move with the time, move with the times. Like it still rings true. I still look at what they do out there, and I know
mm,
it will come in 5 years. So
mm,
I still look at, what can we do? How does life look in the future and now?
mm,
Right now we have the AI, but where are these development countries in AI?
mm,
Where those some of those things, and how
mm,
you can place yourself is one, yes, be on the lookout because you're going to need a lot of engineers for these projects. And in some opportunities, you'll need to
mhm,
upskill because some of these projects you may not have the skill and you'd want to be involved. So we are even thinking of ways to how to build local capacity with the training, skill training, a transfer of
mhm,
skill, uh, so that we can support even other countries in similar projects. I think Kengen did that for geothermal in Ethiopia, something similar to that. So
mm,
yeah, so we're really trying to ramp up capacity and give the best to the fund. And when you hear, it's not it's a success. It's probably will be teamwork. It's a teamwork success. We want the best out of this fund because it's the best for us. Even when I look at my board members, we are basically giving it our all to make sure that we have 100%, we give out 100% of what this is. And I think even like in the beginning, we all had different visions of what it is, but after we have worked together, we have all come back with one vision and seen it actually how it can profit the country and how it can grow to something that is so, beautiful, a funding that is such a success. So our aim is to ensure that that is something that we achieve in our tenure. Yeah. So I hope to see you. I hope to see many of you in the project. I hope to see many of you grow in the different
Yeah.
sectors too. To be voices that we are giving you a feasibility that has come from, oh, we're doing this, and you say, we can do the feasibility locally. We no longer need hand holding in X. We can do a refinery in Congo ourselves, something like that. That's growth. That's the growth that we want to see the fund, the capacity in the fund, that we just know, wow, we've done our best. Of course, plus the money is back, the returns that it comes, but the returns that it will come, but just the economic returns of it, and the social, and um, how it will build the employment scene will be very interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, more opportunities, we can do bigger things, more economic growth,
Yeah.
bigger projects.
Yeah.
Definitely the place where we want to see ourselves as a country. So I'm really excited
Yeah.
about this fund as well. And congratulations. So it's so exciting to have one of us there. So
Thank
excited.
you. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Lydia. That's all I have for the time.
Thank you.
And thank you
Yeah.
everyone who was able to join in there in on YouTube and also on LinkedIn. Yeah, and gift Mazera is clapping. Thank you, Nina. I hope we can talk more about this as the fund,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, as the project starts. Yeah, thank you so
Sure,
much.
sure,
Have
sure.
a
No worries.
lovely weekend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye bye.